Welcome to the Supernatural Perspective channel. In the annals of biblical history, few narratives stand out as enigmatic and spine-tingling as the account of King Saul's encounter with the medium at Endor. This eerie episode, found in the book of 1 Samuel chapter 28, unveils a bone-chilling séance that delves into the realm of the supernatural, showcasing the intersection of earthly monarchs and otherworldly forces. Prepare to be captivated by the inexplicable events that took place during this bone-chilling séance. In this episode, we will unravel the details of this supernatural encounter, shedding light on its significance and implications within the context of the Bible. The tale unfolds during political turmoil and spiritual distress. Saul, the first king of Israel, was facing a dire predicament. The Philistine army, a perennial threat, has gathered in formidable strength against the Israelites. Furthermore, he faced the added burden of dwindling divine support and the absence of guidance from God's prophets. In 1 Samuel 28 verses 5 and 6, we are told, "When Saul saw the army of the Philistines, he was afraid, and his heart trembled greatly. And when Saul inquired of the Lord did not answer him, either by dreams, or by Urim, or by prophets." Saul's desperation leads him to make a fateful choice. He seeks out a medium, a practitioner of necromancy, in the town of Endor. This decision is, in itself, a violation of the Mosaic law, which strictly forbade dealings with mediums and spiritists. One of these prohibitions is found in Leviticus 19 verse 31, where we read, "Do not turn to mediums or necromancers, do not seek them out, and so make yourselves unclean by them. I am the Lord your God." Another prohibition is found in Deuteronomy 18 verses 10 to 12, which states, "There shall not be found among you anyone who burns his son or his daughter as an offering, anyone who practices divination or tells fortunes or interprets omens, or a sorcerer or a charmer or a medium or a necromancer or one who inquires of the dead." Inquiring of the dead was exactly what the king of Israel was about to do. Therefore, Saul disguises himself and, under the cover of darkness, travels to the medium's dwelling, concealed from the watchful eyes of his court. To comprehend Saul's choice, we must delve into the historical background of spiritualism and necromancy. In ancient times, mediums served as channels between the living and the dead, exercising their powers to communicate with spirits. These practices were prevalent in various cultures and held deep-rooted beliefs. Cloaked in secrecy, Saul embarks on a clandestine journey to the remote village of Endor, which is reportedly known for its mysterious ambience, and its inhabitants were rumored to possess supernatural abilities. The IVP Bible background mentions that this specialist from Endor used a ritual pit to conjure up the spirits of the dead. The pits were believed to be magical portals through which spirits could pass between the realms of the living and the dead. The practitioner was one who had special knowledge of the location of such a pit, and who was familiar with the procedures necessary to summon the dead. It is interesting to read what the witch said in verse 9 and Saul's response to her in verse 10. The woman said to him, "Surely you know what Saul has done, how he has cut off the mediums and the necromancers from the land. Why then are you laying a trap for my life to bring about my death?" But Saul swore to her by the Lord, "As the Lord lives, no punishment shall come upon you for this thing." In order to conduct a séance to summon spirits, certain procedures must be followed. Drawing from different cultures such as Greek, Mesopotamia, and the Hittite, the IVP Bible background mentions 5 important aspects about the séance. Step 1, it must be done at night. Step 2, after the spot is divined, a pit is dug with a special tool. Step 3, a food offering, bread, oil, honey, or the blood of a sacrificial animal is placed in the pit to attract spirits. Step 4, an invocation ritual, including the spirit's name, is chanted. And step 5, the pit is covered to prevent spirits from escaping after the ritual is concluded. The séance began in verse 11 when the woman said, "Whom shall I bring up for you?" He said, "Bring up Samuel for me." Verse 12 informs us that when the woman saw Samuel, she cried out with a loud voice. And the woman said to Saul, Why have you deceived me? You are Saul." Some commentators believe that she was startled at the sight of the apparition because she was a fraud and did not expect to see Samuel. For instance, Keel and Delitzsch concluded that these words imply most unquestionably that the woman saw an apparition which she did not anticipate, and therefore that she was not really able to conjure up departed spirits or persons who had died, but that she either merely pretended to do so, or if her witchcraft was not mere trickery and delusion, but had a certain demoniacal background. That the appearance of Samuel differed essentially from everything she had experienced and effected before, and therefore filled her with alarm and horror. The narrative continues in verse 13 and 14. The king said to her, "Do not be afraid. What do you see?" And the woman said to Saul, "I see a god coming up out of the earth." He said to her, "What is his appearance?" And she said, "An old man is coming up, and he is wrapped in a robe." And Saul knew that it was Samuel, and he bowed with his face to the ground and paid homage. Some scholars who believe that it was not Samuel because the woman says that she saw gods, but the Hebrew word which translate gods here is Elohim, which can be applied to a disembodied spirit. So, this is not the best argument against this entity being the spirit of the departed prophet Samuel. What catch our attention here, however, is that in these verses, it seems that Saul was not able to see the spirit which had materialized and only the woman can see it. This would make sense according to Mesopotamian necromancy incantations, in which the IVP says that only the practitioner could see the spirit. As we shift to verse 15, it appears as if Saul is having a direct conversation with the spirit because it says, "Then Samuel said to Saul, 'Why have you disturbed me by bringing me up?' Saul answered, 'I am in great distress, for the Philistines are warring against me, and God has turned away from me and answers me no more, either by prophets or by dreams. Therefore I have summoned you to tell me what I shall do.'" This makes sense according to IVP Bible background because she was not a medium in the modern sense, since in these rituals the spirit did not possess nor speak through her. The IVP continues by saying, "The spirits who emerged were in human form and generally were able to communicate directly with the client." Based on the evidence provided by the IVP, it seemed as if the entity was playing tricks on King Saul by speaking invisibly at first, because initially Saul could not see it, and then materialized to speak face to face with him after that. It is fascinating to read the commentary provided by the English theologian John Gill on verse 14, where he argued the spirit was just mimicking Samuel, and he stated that it was one of those deceiving spirits Porphyry speaks of, that appear in various shapes and forms, and pretend to be gods or demons, or the souls of the deceased. We agree with Gill that it was probably the apparition of a trickster, or shape-shifting demon. A trickster demon is a supernatural being often found in various mythologies and folklore around the world. These entities are known for their cunning and mischievous nature, as they enjoy playing pranks, deceiving humans, and causing chaos. Trickster demons can take on different forms and have varying characteristics depending on the culture and tradition they come from. In many stories, trickster demons are allegedly neither purely good nor purely evil. They exist in a moral gray area and often serve as agents of balance in the universe. It is alleged that their actions can lead to both positive and negative consequences, and they may be responsible for teaching valuable lessons or challenging societal norms through their trickery. Some famous examples of trickster demons or figures in mythology and folklore include: Loki is a prominent trickster figure in Norse mythology, known for his shape-shifting abilities and penchant for causing trouble among the gods and humans. In various Native American cultures, Coyote is a trickster spirit known for his cleverness and his role in creating the world and its features. Anansi the spider is a trickster character from African folklore, often depicted as a clever and cunning figure who uses his wit to outsmart others. Puck, also known as Robin Goodfellow, is a mischievous fairy and trickster character in English folklore, famously featured in Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream. Eshu is a Yoruba trickster deity who acts as a messenger between the gods and humans. He is known for his unpredictable and sometimes disruptive behavior. Hermes, the messenger of the Greek gods, is often associated with trickery and cunning, as well as being a guide for souls to the afterlife. The great German reformer, Martin Luther, did not believe that it was Samuel. Kiel and Delitzsch quoted Luther saying, "The raising of Samuel by a soothsayer or which was certainly merely a spectre of the devil, not only because the scriptures state that it was effected by a woman who was full of devils, for who could believe that the souls of believers, who are in the hand of God, and in the bosom of Abraham were under the power of the devil, and of simple men, but also because it was evidently in opposition to the command of God that Saul and the woman inquired of the dead. The Holy Ghost cannot do anything against this himself, nor can he help those who act in opposition to it." Kiel and Delitzsch also quoted the French reformer John Calvin, best known for his doctrine of predestination, who wrote, "It is certain that it was not really Samuel, for God would never have allowed his prophets to be subjected to such diabolical conjuring. For here is a sorceress calling up the dead from the grave. Does any one imagine that God wished his prophet to be exposed to such ignominy, as if the devil had power over the bodies and souls of the saints which are in his keeping? The souls of the saints are said to rest and live in God, waiting for their happy resurrection. Besides, are we to believe that Samuel took his cloak with him into the grave? For all these reasons, it appears evident that the apparition was nothing more than a spectre, and that the senses of the woman herself were so deceived that she thought she saw Samuel, whereas it really was not he. Although Kiel and Delitzsch believe that it was Samuel that was conjured by the witch, they admit that the Church, Fathers, Reformers, and earlier Christian theologians, with very few exceptions, assumed that there was not a real appearance of Samuel, but only an imaginary one. According to the explanation given by Ephraim Cyrus, an apparent image of Samuel was presented to the eye of Saul through demoniacal arts. Nevertheless, Kiel and Delitzsch informed that the more modern Orthodox commentators are unanimous in the opinion that the departed prophet did really appear and announce the destruction of Saul, not, however, in consequence of the magical arts of the witch, but through a miracle wrought by the omnipotence of God. This statement is still true in our time, as many Orthodox theologians today believe that it was Samuel that appeared at the command of a witch. Why would they believe that God would work a miracle through a witch just baffles our mind. The best argument against the apparition being Samuel, in our opinion, is provided by Matthew Henry, who described the incidents magnificently when he wrote that we have here the conference between Saul and Satan. Saul came in disguise, but Satan soon discovered him. Satan comes in the disguise of Samuel's mantle, and Saul cannot discover him. Such is the disadvantage we labor under, in wrestling with the rulers of the darkness of this world, that they know us, while we are ignorant of their wiles and devices. The message from the entity is a harbinger of doom. It informed Saul that his disobedience to God has led to his impending downfall and the loss of his kingdom. It predicted the Philistine victory in the battle against Israel and foretells Saul's death the following day. We read in verse 19, "Moreover, the Lord will give Israel also with you into the hand of the Philistines, and tomorrow you and your sons shall be with me. The Lord will give the army of Israel also into the hand of the Philistines." The entity was able to predict the future, but this is not a surprise because it is possible for demons to possess knowledge about future events which they can use to deceive people. Some would say that it is a false prophecy because it says, "tomorrow," and Saul did not die the next day. However, the Hebrew word which is translated as tomorrow can mean in future time as well, so this cannot be taken as a false prophecy. This can be seen in the same way as the spirit of Python, which was a demonic spirit that possessed the slave girl, in Acts 16 was able to tell the truth about the Apostle Paul preaching the way of salvation. So, it is not bizarre for demons to tell the truth if it will help them to spiritually enslaved people. The supernatural encounter at Endor raises several intriguing questions and theological considerations. Firstly, the appearance of Samuel's spirit is a controversial topic. Some interpret it as a genuine appearance of Samuel, while others see it as an apparition or a demonic deception. The Bible itself does not provide explicit answers, leaving room for interpretation. Secondly, the encounter at Endor underscores the consequences of Saul's disobedience and his failure to consult God through legitimate means. It serves as a stark warning against resorting to forbidden practices in moments of spiritual crisis. The story of Saul and the medium at Endor remains a bone-chilling and mysterious episode within biblical literature. It raises questions about the nature of the supernatural, the consequences of disobedience, and the limits of human desperation. Regardless of interpretation, this account continues to captivate readers and challenge their understanding of the intersection between the earthly and the supernatural in the pages of the Bible. And that concludes our bone-chilling journey into the supernatural encounter between Saul and the medium at Endor. Join us on our next episode of Unraveling the Supernatural, as we continue to explore mysterious and spine-tingling tales from ancient history. Remember, the supernatural world is full of secrets and enigmas waiting to be unraveled. Stay curious, stay captivated, and always be open to unraveling the mysteries that lie beyond the veil of the unknown from a biblical perspective.